Feel free to
Let me
like.
listen to your little fella that you did. What, you don't have reverb on this yet?
I might. I think I do, or do I not?
It's this guy.
Ooh.
Okay. Do you know which one you used?
What do you mean?
What reverb you used? What chamber reverb you used?
Oh, it's my own.
One you created?
Yep.
Nuh-uh.
I swear to God. Yeah.
That's not true.
It is true. It's very. That's
Out of what plugin?
Altiverb.
Ah.
Yeah, I sampled a.
You got it. You got a.
Yep.
What's it called? Impulse response.
That's right.
You got your own impulse response. Why don't you share it with me?
I could if you want.
Wouldn't you like that?
Yeah. I don't know. I just like it's so. There's a whole story for it, but like basically, it's from my college, UMBC.
Oh, okay. Cool.
There's like a stairwell there that
yeah.
it's just like it has a really nice reverb sound to it, and I stole it and I did like 6 different areas of it, and I took my favorite one, and I was trying to create the reverb chamber from Abbey Road actually.
That's nice.
And so I like soloed out Beatles vocals where you could just hear the reverb.
Yeah.
And I compared it, and then I fed the dry Beatle vocals into my reverb, and I tried to get them as close as possible. And yeah, so it's just this really nice sounding reverb, and it kind of has a vintage thing to it, but
I have a few chambers.
it's my go-to chamber when I want that chamber sound. I mean, I like it that I still carry it with me today. Like
it is cool. That's very cool.
So basically, this happened once from like a previous song that I did here. I had a pad synth that's kind of like a chord that's holding like now, and Tom liked it a lot, but he's like, I want a stereo version. Do you have another like pad just like that? And I'm like, no, like I just needed that one sound for that part. And we found another synth from the Cherry plugin that we like used and put it in for stereo. But now, ever since then, when I make demos, if I have like a pad sound, especially on choruses, I'll try and get 2 versions of that same sound. Like it's not going to be the exact same, but it'll be the same vibe, but I'll use a different synth. So I'll use like a Juno and a Jupiter, and they're kind of doing the same parts, but they're just a little different. And that way you have one for left channel, one for right channel, and it just gets like, it's better for the mix. So like anything kind of like things I noticed them doing in the recording process, I'm like, well, why are you doing that? And I'll try and start implementing that into my demos. So that's why they're more and more finished as they come in. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my drum program stuff, it's fills that I would see Brett do kind of like on a regular basis. So I'm like, that's a good way to set up a chorus. I should just put that in. I should just put that in. You know, it's like, and that's why the product is getting like more and more finished as it comes in. Right now, normally we would add just the bass guitar under the whole song, you know? We'd track a whole bass part, but for this song, we feel pretty confident that the bass synth part I played is really going to be the bass part for the whole song, and it's good and we don't have to change it, but we still want to try and add a bass guitar underneath the chorus, just playing the same part as my bass synth, but it's just going to maybe make the chorus a little thicker and give it a little bit of a different texture, you know? And that's another trick I learned too, because I'd always listen to pop radio and I'm like, what are they doing with the bass like during the verses? And like is it there? Is it not there? Like, how do they make the bass so big on the choruses? And what I realized, I think anyway, is that they're literally just turning the bass up during the choruses, you know what I mean? Or they're adding a second bass tone playing the same part. And that's another thing I do too, like I only have a sub bass coming in on my choruses, which is like an octave below the actual bass line. It's just like, it's a thing that's like gonna like shake your car and shake the club. So that's the thing I learned, you know, and I read about that in the 80s too, with like how do they get these great synth sounds. And it's like, well, a lot of time they're actually stacking sounds, you know. It's not like they just have the one synth playing that one part and it's magical. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times it's like 2 or 3 synths stacked together, and that's how it gets so thick, you know what I mean? And anytime I learn stuff like that, I'm just trying to implement that into the actual creative process, you know. The closer you can get to a finished product up front, the better. Yep. For the third part of the chorus, like that back third, I call it the hook section, but it's really the same chorus melodies and stuff, but the bass line is different and it has more of like a bounce to it. So like the chorus like bump 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 bump, but on the last third of the chorus, instead of bump bump bump, it's bump 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 bump, and it creates this like whoa head nod, you know, and it just bounces it in an even more a bigger way. And that's like one of my favorite parts of the song, you know? Even though there's like many favorite parts, that's one of them. Right there. It sounds like to me like I'd want to be in like a car in California with like the hydraulics, like where it's like, you know what I mean? That's like how I wrote that bass line in mind. I was like, whoa.
What are your chords in the chorus?
If
I should tune this down. Well, I guess I got my
G minor, F, C, D minor.
This is the boring part.
Yes, I'm waiting for you to say something you're not ready for. Yes, I don't need you. I guess I won't save us. I guess I don't love you, not anymore. And I guess I don't need money. I guess I'll stop dreaming. I guess I'll just leave it. One thing to settle for. Yes, I.
There we go. We're getting it. We're figuring it out. That's kind of cool. If we tuck that in.
That's something, right?
Well, Rhett came in and we just recorded a bunch of stuff. It's cool stuff. Brought in a great song. Makes it really easy to record cool stuff on a good song. No, Rhett's just so great to work with, and he does such a great job. And again, I feel like I've been complimenting him all day, but he really does. He knows how to put together a pop song. I mean, he really does.
Yeah.
And he really only needs us just for kind of polishing up the ends and recording his vocal the best it can be recorded. Mm-hmm. And everybody, I think, needs someone especially as creative as Rhett needs an editor at some point to say, that way he doesn't have to think like, is this too much? Is this whatever?
Yeah,
he can just create, and that's what he does. He just goes and he creates, and then we just kind of nudge him along and certain directions, and it's awesome. Good tunes, songs we enjoy, and he has success with them. So
it's working out. So that's why I keep coming back. But yeah, I call it like a checks and balances system. Just having Tom and Zadlounge here is just it's just a double check what I'm doing is absolutely right, and maybe we'll use some of the sounds, maybe a couple we won't, but it's just the tiny little decisions. I don't have to make all of them myself. That's the really important thing, you know, having someone to like reaffirm or say like, don't use that. That's really key and invaluable. And Tom's also just extremely talented he's a really talented musician. You can like hear everything really well in the phrasing. He's a really great bassist. I think a great singer as well. I mean, the way he understands vocals. Obviously a great mixer, great producer. And it has a really human touch to a lot of it, you know? And that's like really important. Like not only does it sound like it's coming through good gear, but it just, every instrument and vocal sounds very human to it. It sounds very organic. And that's one of my favorite things about it.
Thanks, Rhett. That's really nice.
And I mean that. Like seriously, that's
very kind.
Yeah.